that needs to be fed, causing chaos everywhere I land. I got a fever, I got a fever.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Ohio Sports Talk. I am the host, Doug. That's our co-host, Jordan Maxson. Jordan, how the hell you doing, buddy?
Hanging in there, battling a little bit of sinuses, but that's what you get when it goes from 100 degrees one week and then back to the 60s and 50s the next. But doing really good. Family's doing good. Everybody's rocking school. We're back in the thick of things. It's a Monday, so ready to rock and roll. A lot to go over this weekend. How are things on your neck of the woods?
Not doing too bad, Jordan. Do you think maybe your sinus issues have anything to do with me kicking your ass at football yesterday? Any residual effects from that little driveway football match that we had yesterday?
I don't remember getting my ass kicked, Douglas. I remember I remember making some pretty clutch catches, going across the middle, some poor quarterback play on both ends. So when you don't have the person to deliver you the ball, Doug, you don't win games. And that's just what it came down to for my team and my squad. It was a little bit favored. The quarterback had some relationships to you,
some biases.
So I questioned a lot of things late in the game. Some incompletions didn't go my way. Some interceptions. Look, I went deep and she threw short. So I got some questions that need answers. We're gonna send a letter to the league and hopefully we'll get some answers next week.
No, that's good. Jordan and I, we watched football all day yesterday. Had a good weekend. The results on the TV were not good, but it was great to hang out. We threw football in between quarters, halftime, all times yesterday. It was great getting to hang out and eat some pizza, drink a little bit, and hang out. And so that was really fun. But Jordan, we've got a lot to talk about on the field. But before we get there, the Reds are up 1-0 on the Braves right now. Actually, the game just went final. The Reds beat the Braves 1-0 tonight, Jordan. So the Reds now are 70 and 75. We're going to touch on the Reds in a little bit, but shout out to the Reds for still battling. I mean, they could have folded it up completely and just gone off the rails, but shout out to them. We'll talk about them here briefly. Keep it on battling. Good win for the Reds tonight, Jordan. Anything else you want to talk about before we really get into it, buddy?
No, I think we're ready to dive right in.
Yeah, no. So let's start off with your team, Jordan, because you were the 1:00 kick. Let's do it that way. Earlier game. Initial thoughts, Jordan, because right off the bat, it felt like you guys were still getting out of the blocks while New England was ready to actually play the game. It felt like it just took a little bit of you guys. Took a while, and by the time it was ready to go, New England had already jumped out to a lead. What were your thoughts from your perspective, a Bengals fan, and then we'll bounce it back and forth.
Well, let's start on. I knew that was coming. Let's start on the defensive side of the ball, Douglas. The Bengals defense gave up 171 yards rushing total. Gave up 120 plus to their singular running back for the New England. So shout out to New England. They got it done in the trenches. And Doug, that's really what our Achilles heel was in this game. Even with the lead, you can't get the ball back. You can't control time of possession when you're getting just run into the ground like that. So defensively, our defensive tackle spot, it's going to be a huge issue. Everything that I've been saying in the preseason, the draft, free agency, I said, we need a defensive tackle to solidify it. I know our second round pick was out from Michigan. He didn't play. But Douglas, free agency, there were a lot of big names out there, and we chose really not to go towards anything. Rankins didn't really show up. I'm just going to call it a spade there. But defensively, it was just horrible. Couldn't get off the field on third downs, really undisciplined. We're playing, lax coverage when it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. These guys are just playing pitch and catch. Jacoby Brissett, everything is advertised, Douglas, as I said on our episode on Friday. I said we were going to struggle with his mobility. We were going to struggle, with his ability to extend plays out of the pocket, his ability to roll out. and everything I said came to fruition. So, as Jeff Goldblum said in Jurassic Park, I hate being right, but here we are. Offensively, let's just dive right into it, Doug. We couldn't get the run game going. We got a total of like 68 yards rushing as a unit. That's not getting it done in this league, Doug. We got Zach Moss. We had Brown going into a second season, and those guys, neither of them could find a footing. I know Moss had the touchdown that was kind of late, in my opinion. Didn't really mean a lot at that point in the game. But fumbling, I mean, dear God, pretty much 2 touchdowns. So
That's the
the tight end goes in, Hudson, Gilsecki comes out, Hudson comes in, Hudson fumbles the ball, massive turnover. Charlie Jones has one job on his team, Doug. It's just to return kicks, and just outside of Higgins and Chase, no ability there. I mean, he just fumbled the ball. I don't know if it's some preseason play. We'll dive into that later. But Doug, it was just an abysmal game from start to finish. Joe Burrow couldn't push the ball downfield. I know Jamar Chase had 6 receptions, but a lot of those, Doug, I mean, it looked like it was just forced out. A lot of 8-yard hitches, stick routes. Maybe a couple in routes, but nothing dynamic. The Bengals couldn't open the umbrella against the Patriots secondary, and that's what ultimately cost them the game. If you can't get the ground game going, you can't pass it deep, you're not going to score points. And the 2 fumbles that led to 14 points off the board for us. 7 points going the other way, 7 points off the board for us. You just can't win. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You could be playing the worst team in the league, but when you make those middle mistakes, here we are again. 0-1 under the Zach Taylor era. I'm kind of tired of him, Doug.
I think Joe Burrow's 1-4 in season openers now. We know you guys are slow starters, though, Jordan. We know this, but you see it happen, and you still don't understand. But then we talked about this also. What would you guys have, 1 drive in the preseason together? I mean, and no T. Higgins. Jamar Chase is doing his contract thing throughout the preseason. It never felt like you guys got out of the starting blocks. I think Joe Burrow's average completion was like 5.5 yards. There was no pushing the ball down the field. And I commented on this last week. I said, New England has a solid secondary, but for you guys to never take really a shot downfield with Chase or anything, I think your deepest throw was probably that one to Gesicki in the corner that he dropped. It just never felt like the offense got going. Burrow never really got going. And like I said, he was 21 of 29 for 164 yards. Joe Burrow's good enough player where those stats are kind of a head scratcher for somebody like him. Again, next week could be different, but I don't see how your defense is all of a sudden going to be just infinitely better. How are you going to stop the run next week? Your D tackles were non-existent. Trey Hendrickson was the only one who I thought play-by-play was a difference maker. Logan Wilson obviously was very solid, but nobody outside of those 2 I really ever felt was making a difference. So what was your thoughts? We know you've harped on the D-line and wanting to go get some help there, but nobody else really stepped up and made a big play when you guys needed it. You couldn't get off the field. Stevenson, ran all over you guys. Brissett was very accurate, used his feet well. The defense is going to be an issue again this year, Jordan. I really think so.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And this defense, Douglas, it's not built to be playing from behind. We're built to be up on a team, and the pass rush is designed for us to be up 6 points, 7 points, 2 scores. Kind of like that, the reminiscence of the Colts defense under Peyton Manning when they had the great pass rush. They were extremely poor against the run, but when you pin a team back and you get their ears back and you force them to throw, this team would be more successful. Lou's defense is built off turnovers, and Doug, when you're renting run on for 171 yards on the ground, you can't produce turnovers, and that's the difference. This defense, they got out of sync. The Patriots forced their will on them and knocked us out of our defensive plan, knocked us out of our defensive scheme, And, at that point, nobody can make a play because we know our defensive tackles, they don't have the ability to play that kind of way.
Right.
So it's either, us getting in their face with a pass rush, but you don't have to pass the ball when you're up 16. So, that was the difference. It was just a pathetic game all around. It looked like they didn't even get off the bus. So kind of quote Coach Fresh there. He'll know what I'm talking about. But
I get that. That's a good reference. Here at Browns Podcast, thanks guys for chiming in. Jordan, we're going to touch on this Thursday. You guys have a massive game this weekend against Kansas City. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And the way your defensive line played, the way your offensive line played, I'm a little bit worried that this game could get out of control. Because while the Patriots don't have a terrible defensive line, Kansas City blows them out of the water. The defense of Kansas City is phenomenally talented. And your guys' the pass protection wasn't awful. I felt like Joe Burrow held the ball a little bit too long from time to time.
Absolutely.
But guys also have to get open. So, I mean, there's two sides of that coin. We're going to break it down on Thursday. Bengals, Kansas City. This game has a lot different feeling after that loss to New England, does it not?
I think it does, and hopefully we see Burton. Our third-round draft pick from Alabama was almost non-existent on the field when it came to plays. So I don't know if he's still in the doghouse.
Somebody's got to get a little pop out there.
I would have put him in late in the game. I know I told you that when we were watching the game. Late in the fourth quarter, Doug, when we got to take shots. Our speed guy from Alabama wasn't on the field, so I think that's a huge letdown from the coaching staff, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes. It's the NFL. You're a professional football. We're not college. We're not high school. Whatever backseat drama is going on, you got to put the best position players in the best position to win. And right. Douglas, I felt like this organization just failed on Sunday.
Yeah, no, and he didn't even get a target or anything, so he was not on the field at all. But I think if your coaches go back and watch this, and we are prefacing this, T. Higgins was not on the field. You guys missed a lot of that that ability that T. Higgins has, and potentially, potentially the receiver from Bama could have been that guy, but he has his own issues. You say it's not a non-factor. Zach Taylor and them obviously feel like he's a big enough distraction that he was not out there week 1. We'll see what happens against the Chiefs in week 2. We're going to break that game down fully on Thursday with our predictions, and we're going to do our Browns and Bengals bet again. But let's transition, Jordan, to my team, the Browns. And if we thought your guys' game was bad, wait till we sat down and watched this shit. This was a beatdown from the second drive, because the first drive we shut them down. We had the nice sack on Dak Prescott. After that, we got we kicked the field goal. After that, it just was not close. It was really, really bad. Jordan, I'm going to let you start. What did you see? Because what I saw was a team that is potentially in trouble. It's week 1. I'm going to try to maintain and not go overboard and kind of, try to keep it together. I've got 3 things that I'm going to highlight off after you, but go ahead and tell me what you saw from your perspective watching the game, sitting next to me as I twiddle my thumbs and pissed off for 2 hours. Go ahead.
Well, let's start here, Douglas. You were playing with 2 backup tackles. So let's take some of the pressure off here. Your offensive line performance, in my mind, it wasn't terrible when it came to pass protection. But Douglas, the Cleveland Browns' identity has always been, dominance with the run the last couple of seasons, and they weren't able to get that run blocking going. So in my mind, what I saw outside looking in was a team that was kind of in shambles. And then, at the end of the game, when you're forced to pass about virtually every play 15 to 20 times, they were behind the sticks. They were behind the score. This wasn't the Browns team that I thought was going to come out. I'm not a Browns fan by any stretch of the imagination, but Douglas, I was really harping on them all season long. I love the moves that they made. I love the defensive, at least on paper. The scheme looked good. We know the backups had the ability to play, but it just looked like nothing was in sync. We know Deshaun didn't play in the preseason. Doug, I think that had a lot to do with it offensively. He looked to be off the page with the receivers. He was thrown into corners. They were pulling the routes in for a hook route. He was thrown into the side. It just looked really bad. David Njoku's injury didn't help matters either. Whenever I harped on to say a tight end's best friend or a quarterback's best friend is his tight end when it came to having that much rust on him. Well, it didn't come to fruition. So defensively, Doug, I just didn't see that pop that I'm used to Cleveland, pulling out all the stocks for. We didn't really see it from the linebackers, and we saw the secondary kind of uncharacteristically give up those 50-50 balls. And maybe that's timing, maybe that's week one jitters. I don't think that'll be long term going forward for Cleveland, but Doug, this just wasn't the Cleveland team I thought was going to happen. What, from your perspective, lay it on thick. Let's hear it.
Okay, so first things first. I thought the O-line was absolutely atrocious. I thought, and you have to go off of what you saw on the field. Juwan Jones, who I've supported, who I've been a fan of, coming from Ohio State to Cleveland, a guy that I thought was going to cement himself as potentially the starting right tackle, played one of the worst games I've seen a Cleveland Browns tackle play in years. It was horrible. The 2 penalties all day long. Could not block anything to save his life. The offensive line was non-existent. Everything we tried to do was halted by a poor O-line play, and it starts with those two tackles. I know they're backups for a reason. Conklin, we'll see what happens with those guys if they can get back this week. Second, Deshaun Watson was atrocious. Now, that is coupled with a bad offensive line. He was not on target with throws. He was not accurate. Everything was underneath, check down, short. There was no down the field. And when he did try to throw down the field, there was nothing available. Everything was outside, safe to not throw an interception. Throws the 2 interceptions anyway. It was one of the worst quarterback-rated performances of all time. I know analytics is a little bit out there, but it was rated one of the worst performances of all time by a quarterback. He was sacked 6 times for lost 32 yards. He threw 45 passes, Jordan, for 169 yards. That is 3.8 yards per completion. That is incredibly bad. Jerome Ford never really got going because the offensive line gave us nothing. He ended up with 12 carries for 44 yards. I am still in the camp that Jerome Ford is not a starting running back. I think he lacks a little bit of vision in terms of his cuts and where to hit the hole. And I don't think he has that burst, that boom that you have to get through those holes and get to the next level. I think he lacks that a little bit. But I do think he is, in short doses, a solid back. Finally, this one I think also needs to be put on Kevin Stefanski. The team was completely undisciplined, Jordan. The penalties all game were egregious. This group was not ready. And it's kind of turned into Kevin Stefanski's kind of, his like hold up, his snag. He coaches undisciplined teams. If you look at the years, we always are one of the most penalized teams in the league, and it reared its ugly head. You cannot play that fucking sloppy against the Dallas Cowboys, who have one of the best defenses in the league. 3 things: Stefanski, Watson, O-line. Unprepared, undisciplined. Watson, not ready. Sat out the preseason because he was uncomfortable. Bullshit, dude. We are paying you so much money. So much money. And the O-line, injuries. But we did that all last season. Joe Flacco made it work with duct tape and paper clips. But again, it's one game. We have a long season to go. We've got another chance against Jacksonville next week. Jacksonville's defense is not going to be as good as the Cowboys. They have a bad passing secondary. Secondary defense is weak against the pass. We look like we're weak when we pass the ball. It's going to be very interesting. No David Njoku. Can we get Amari Cooper involved? Can we get Jerry Jeudy even more involved? Can we get Jerome Ford out of the backfield for some screens? Can we find a way to get other guys involved? Can we get Elijah Moore, who I think is very, very sketchy at best? I don't know if he lasts the whole season. A lot has to get changed in a week. I don't think it's going to get done in a week, but I do think we're more on par with Jacksonville than we are with the Cowboys. It's extremely frustrating because we get all this hype, and then you get this product on the field unprepared, undisciplined, not a competitive football game. Jordan, and then to compound all this bullshit, Jordan, which I'm assuming this was leaked at this time for a reason, which, everybody has their own initiative or their agenda. Deshaun Watson is now being sued in a civil suit for sexual assault. Again, on top of everything that we've already had to deal with,
right?
He is now getting sued in a civil suit for more sexual assault. If this team is under 500 through 10 games, I think you need to take in serious consideration at putting Jameis Winston in, and I think you need to take in serious consideration about drafting Quinn Ewers in the top 15 picks next year. You need to do whatever it takes to get Quinn Ewers, and we need to restart, because if Deshaun Watson can't return to form, this season is a waste, Jordan. It just flat out's a waste. Everything was riding on Deshaun Watson getting back to somewhat of Houston form, and he has not gotten there yet. We saw for one half last season against the Ravens. It's not looked close in most of the other games. Yeah, we've scraped out some wins. We've made it happen, but you don't pay somebody this amount of money and you're not a contender. And with Watson right now, we don't feel like a contender, and it sucks. So a lot not going the Browns' way, but the best thing about the NFL is, Jordan, there's another game. There's another game next week, a chance to get right. If we can beat Jacksonville somehow, slow them down somehow, 1-1. We got 3 very winnable games after the Jacksonville game. But again, if we get to week 10 and we're not above 500 or at 500 or a little bit above 500, we've got to seriously consider Jameis Winston and working on towards a draft pick.
Week 10, I'm thinking more like week 6, Doug. If you guys are
3-3, though, the season's not over. 3-3.
It's not over, but in my opinion, I think you've seen enough.
If he's bad, sure. But if you can get to 5-5, I don't think the quarterback can't be that bad. I guess. I don't know. You're probably right. It may be sooner, but I would have my eyes peeled on some of these top quarterbacks in college football. Jordan, this could have been a lot worse. We could have went a lot harder. It's game 1. We're trying to ease into it this year.
I'm trying to be grounded.
Let's transition to a high point for the weekend, Jordan. The Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yes.
There was our excitement. There was our happiness this weekend. And, we expected this win. This wasn't going to be like a barn burn or anything like that. The Ohio State Buckeyes absolutely ran away from Western Michigan, as we expected. What were your thoughts, Jordan? Because we talked about wanting to see certain things in this game, and in my opinion, we pretty much saw them all. So, what was the best thing you saw Ohio State do against Western Michigan?
The offensive line, Douglas, established the run.
Dominant.
And that was something I really, really harped on, was consistent run game. The transfer from Ole Miss, 90+ yards. Awesome.
Ended up at 108.
108. My bad.
No, you're good.
Travion Henderson, 60+ yards.
Yep.
Really wanted to see. I said I wanted to see Howard make plays with his legs. Douglas, he went in for the score. So, in my opinion, I said the passing game was going to take care of itself. We knew that was going to happen, but establishing the run with the starters and not just late in the game when we were weighing on them, that was the most important thing for me. And we got it. We got the production. Ohio State looked in sync. The run game looked good. Howard's throws didn't look rushed. The timing looked a lot better this week. And I hate that we're on a bye week this week, because you want to see that roll. You want to see that continue. I don't want any ring rust to kind of build back up on top of that, because it was his first year in the system as a transferred quarterback. So, Douglas, I was happy with the starters defensively. It was a perfect storm. We saw the defensive ends get involved. We saw the linebackers make plays. The secondary came as advertised. Our safeties were making plays down in the box. So, those are all things that you need, when you go up against the Michigan States, Penn State, Wisconsin. All those guys love to run the ball. So our safety's coming down and making plays, being the extra man in the box, unblocked. It was really refreshing to see. So I was really happy with the play. I was extremely happy with the quarterback play. Non-starters wise, I was really happy to see Julian Sane make that sweet touchdown pass.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
It looked like poetry in motion, to be honest with you, and the definition of football plays. So, Doug, I was happy to see, all three cylinders. We didn't give up a score. I know that's something you harped on. You said you wanted to lay an egg. You wanted the defense to punch it out, regardless if it was in the third quarter or later. And everybody, Douglas, that came in the game made a play. So to see first stringers, second stringers, and further down the depth chart for the young guys come in, that's the games that are fun. Practice now becomes a little bit lighter. Everybody got a little bit of experience. Everybody got a little bit of crowd hype. So the sky's the limits for this team. What did you see, and what made you happy?
You really harped on it. I mean, I think you said it very well. It was awesome to see the two-headed attack of Judkins and Henderson. Judkins, that dude, you give him a little bit of space, and he is gone. He had a long touchdown run that got called back for a holding where he was gone. I think it was an 80-yard touchdown run. So this dude is electric. Getting into the Big Ten play and getting to watch him play against Big Ten teams and beat up on Big Ten teams is going to be extremely fun. So that guy is as advertised. Travion Henderson, that kind of change of pace guy. He also had the 2 rushing touchdowns. And then I'm going to talk about our freshman wide receiver, Jeremiah Smith.
Yes.
We've had a lot of luck at wide receiver, Jordan. We've had some extremely talented guys. This guy could be the best one we've ever had. Already. That guy took that slant and was, boom, gone. I don't know if Marvin Harrison had this kind of giddy up day one like this kid does with his size and everything that he has. Jeremiah Smith, in my opinion, could go down as the best receiver to play at Ohio State. He is this talented from day one. We've got NFL media members saying this guy could start in the NFL tomorrow. Like, that's how talented this guy is already. Howard gets him the ball. He ends up, he had 119 yards on 5 catches.
Oh yeah.
Took the one deep to the house. Emeka Ibuka had 5 catches for 98 yards. Jordan, it looked really damn good. I predicted 56-3 because I thought maybe they'd get one late. 56-0. The defense shuts them out. They looked good for as long as the starters were in. Everything was fine. There was never really a moment where I thought Western Michigan was going to do anything scoring wise. I think they missed the field goal, which is fine. Hell of a game. Like you said, it sucks that we're on a bye week because I just want to get in there, and I wish we were like playing somebody good next week and we had like that tune-up game like outside the conference, but it's going to be a hard conference slate. It sucks we have the bye week, but I'm excited about Ohio State football, man. That team looked damn good. They are ready to go. Ryan Day has them clicking. So any last thoughts, buddy, before we switch?
No, like you said, Ryan Day, Larry Johnson and company, all those guys, they got them clicking. They got them clicking well. And really to see that 2-headed, 3-headed monster for the run game, I think the quarterback run play is going to be more prevalent as we get into the Big Ten play. I think Howard's going to make more plays with his legs because that's what we brought him in. I know the announcers on the cast for the game, when he scored that touchdown, they were like, that's why they brought him in. You're damn right. So, it was nice to hear that being kind of echoed when it came to the media. So, Douglas, I'm ready. Get this bye week out of the way, get this other game out of the way, and let's get down and gritty to Big Ten play, Michigan State and above, and really see what's going on and really get this team some tests. So they need to be tested and they need to be pressed, and it's going to be exciting moving forward.
Hell yeah! Let's transition, Jordan. Let's talk a little Ohio college football outside of Ohio State. We had a big weekend for Ohio. Let's talk about it. You were texting me about it all Saturday. Bowling Green gives Penn State an absolute dogfight. A dogfight, Jordan. Bowling Green ends up losing 27-34. We had the late touchdown by Nick Singleton, the running back for Penn State. That was the difference maker. shout out to Bowling Green, Jordan. They fought their asses off in that game. You watched a lot of it. What were your thoughts?
Doug, I was kind of shell shocked for a little bit. Bowling Green's defense was just coming down hot and heavy on Penn State's offensive line. So, I thought the first quarter I was like, okay, because it kind of reminisced what Akron, gave Ohio State some fits, early.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to play like similar to that, and it just kept going. Then we got into the second quarter. Then we saw the offense really kind of start to click a little bit for Bowling Green, and they were trading punches. It was like watching Rocky IV. They were just kind of like going back and forth. It didn't matter, throw technique out the window, throw play calls out the windows. Who wanted it more? And Penn State with the more premier players, they got the last lap, and as it should. I mean, honestly, but NIU proved us wrong. I'm sure we'll hit that on news and notes here at the end. But Doug got the MAC 2 weeks in a row. It got me kind of impressed.
Yeah.
So they're in a day and age of the transfer portal and the NIL. Don't sleep on them. So I was really happy to see that. It was really entertaining. I don't think Penn State thought they were going to be in a fist fight like that. So,
definitely not.
big shout out to the coaching staff and everybody there. They're one of the teams we highlighted in the preseason, going into kickoff. So big shout out to Bowling Green. Huge weekend for the MAC.
Yep. And then Ohio was able to beat South Alabama. Their running back, Tyus, had another nice day on the ground. Toledo beats up on UMass. Kent State loses to St. Francis. St. Francis is not a Division I school. Kent State is in trouble this year. Rutgers takes care of Akron. We expected that one. And then, Jordan, the big one from Ohio outside of Ohio State, UC played Pittsburgh. UC goes out, and they're up big, and the lead slowly gets chipped away, and they end up losing that game by a point on a last second field goal. Tough game for Cincinnati, Jordan, and a game that I thought they had in the bag, and you turn and look, and wow, it completely flipped. What were your thoughts on the UC game?
Poorly coached, Douglas.
Yeah,
poorly coached.
Satterfield sucks. That dude's terrible.
Yeah, I'm just going to point the compass where it needs to go here. I think UC was more talented than Pitt. I think on paper they should have took this game. First 2.5, 3 quarters, it was going that direction. And just the play calling wasn't adjusted, according to game time situation. They were passing when they should have been running, and they didn't control time. They didn't control the ground game late in the game, and it just slipped from them. Like you said, you give a guy an opportunity to come up and punch you in the mouth, and they will. And that's what this coaching staff now. Douglas is only it's a young season right now for them, but kind of feeling like a little bit last year. I feel like we're going 2 years in a row now with just bad coaching decisions late in the game.
Man, I feel bad for them. I don't dislike UC. UC doesn't do anything to me. In basketball, I don't love them, but I like to see them do well. And Sorsby's been really good for them, the quarterback. But, man, Satterfield just completely shit down his leg in terms of the coaching. But, Jordan, they've got a game that I'm excited to watch this weekend. They play Miami of Ohio on ESPNU at 12. Miami of Ohio is no pushover either. They gave Northwestern all they could handle in the opening game. So that may be a fun one. I'm excited to watch that one. So let's transition, though, Jordan. We've talked a little bit college football. We'll touch on that again next week. Obviously, without Ohio State, we'll need something to talk about. But let's talk about the Cincinnati Reds, buddy. Like we mentioned at the start, nice win over the Braves tonight. They're still battling. They're still fighting. They had a tough series against the Mets. The Mets are on absolute fire. So I don't have any shame in that series. The Mets are absolutely clicking at an extremely high level. Reds are 70 and 75 at this point. So what are your thoughts on the team at this point, Jordan?
It's still a roster evaluation, Doug, like I harped on in the last episode. We still have some call-ups that are playing particularly well. We're getting into some newer pitching. So it's good to see all that kind of clicking together against good opponents like you touched on. The Braves are no pushover. The Mets were no pushover. We went down and we gave the Houston Astros everything they could handle and then some. So
swept them, yeah.
Good to see these guys playing playoff teams and playing them well. It needs to be a roster evaluation on who needs to be here and who doesn't at the end of the season. These contracts have got to get straightened out. I don't think we're going to make the pushing coach that you and I have been calling for. So,
Shout out to Keith, our resident Penn State fan. Keith,
Man.
I bet your butt was clenched on that game, man. That was a rough one. But go ahead, Jordan. Keep on with the Reds because there's 6-2 in their last 8. I mean,
yeah,
I'm happy for these guys. I like you said, it's an evaluation period, but we still got some guys on here who are trying to hit their numbers. Ellie's trying to get to 25 home runs, things like that. He's trying to get his steals up still. Pitching, Nick Martinez retired 17 straight tonight. We're watching Rhett Lauder, pitching big games. There's still some fun stuff going on while we're trying to shake out this roster. And I think, now that the pressure's gone, Jordan, I can feel a little bit different about this because we got Rhett Lauder going tomorrow night against St. Louis. Hopefully we can kind of play spoiler for St. Louis, so they can't get back all the way into the mix. There's still some fun stuff that we can look at with this team. So I'm glad you said that like that.
Yeah, I mean it's still kind of I'm not going to take away my anger. It's still a pissed away season.
Yeah.
When it comes to a lot of guys and a lot of our pitching staff and some of the players that are veteran players that have been around the league. It's still the program still disservice them big time, yeah. And the fact that Ellie doesn't have a contract is still a big disservice. So, but like you said, it's an evaluation and things are going to get better. Hopefully we can just put it all together, fire some new doctors, get some new doctors in. Our medical staff's been a fucking joke. Doug, and that's real. I know every team has had, their experiences with the health bug and the injury bug and stuff like that, whatever you want to label it. But the Cincinnati Reds just seem to be like 2 tiers down from it. It's like that Brad Pitt scene. I think there's good teams, there's bad teams, there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's the Reds medical staff. So I think that that just guys getting second and third opinions. You never want to read that, Doug. And that's just something that we're millions of dollars in equipment, millions of dollars in treatment. Well, we just got to do better than that. We got to service the team better. We got to service the players better. And it was just kind of sad to see. So
yeah, definitely.
But we'll move on. We'll move on.
17 games left in the season, Jordan. 17 games. I would like to see the Reds finish this into the stretch above 500. So we will monitor that as we go along. Obviously, Jordan, 17 games left. It's been a long year. We've had some ups. We thought we were in the hunt there for a little bit. Then we were out, back in. We've had a little bit of a roller coaster ride. The injury bug has definitely hurt this team. I feel bad for Hunter Green, who I said on this show I believe will be a Cy Young winner or finish in second place next year for the NL. We've got to get Nick Lodolo back in the mix. We got to get him healthy. We got to get his pitching figured out a little bit. And we got some decisions to make, Jordan, with this team next year. And we've got to go out and we got to spend some money in free agency and bring in a big time outfielder to help these guys out. But we've got plenty of time to talk about all that, Jordan. Let's finish it off. Some news and notes, buddy. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Notre Dame getting upset by Northern Illinois?
No, let's start with a team that we fucking hate most. Hook 'em Longhorns, baby. Hook 'em Longhorns. That team up north finally got theirs, and so I'm thrilled. A big shout out to the former Ohio State quarterback.
Quinn Ewers. Huge game. Huge statement game. It's harder, Doug, when you don't know what's coming. So, the cheating scandal and all this other crap that's been going on. I'm thrilled. We beat them. Texas did a really good job. I was glad to see it. Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on that game? Did you think it was going to be closer than that, or was it everything as advertised?
No, I took Texas to cover the spread pretty easily. Quinn Ewers is extremely talented. I've been campaigning for the last day and a half. I would like to see him potentially be the Browns quarterback next year if things completely go off the rails. So, until he plays Ohio State, I'm going to support the guy. I do think he's a damn good kid. and a good quarterback. I wish it would have worked out at Ohio State for him, but that's how things go. We've got good players too. I totally get it. That was a great win by Texas over Michigan. It was nice to see Michigan get theirs. I'm going to talk about Northern Illinois, Jordan, beating number 5 Notre Dame.
Yes.
Northern Illinois had not won a game against a top 10 team ever, and they finally upset Northern Illinois. It was great to see their coach getting emotional, crying during the interview. He deserves all that. Potentially, maybe the next coach of the UC Bearcats, if you don't watch out, that would be a good hire for them. I thought that was a great game, though. Like, yes, it was a massive upset and everything, but at the same time, I thought it was a good football game where a team that's not as talented as Notre Dame fought their ass off to be in the game and have a chance to even win it. So, definitely thought that was a good football game, dude.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was happy to see. I'm not a big fan of Notre Dame, what they've been doing the last couple of seasons, so I was happy to see them, take one to the chin. They paid NIU $1.3 million to play them.
Yeah.
Money well spent, but like you said, it just really shows that in a game of football, big names and talent doesn't always mean you're going to win.
Yeah.
You have to be well coached. You have to be disciplined. And you got to want it more. And this was that underdog game. This was that, the Appalachian State. This is, reminiscent in the last decade or so.
Good call.
Just another big time performance on why, football is one of the most exciting sports in the world. And, this game defies that. It just any given Saturday, any given Sunday, it just shows that, when you get down and gritty, Doug, and you want it more than the other team, you can deliver. So I was really happy to see those guys. And that interview, Doug, that interview played with my heartstrings some. He was so grateful to the players, so grateful to the staff. A guy that had been there for obviously a couple of years when things were down in the program. So the fact that the athletic director didn't give up on him, there's just a lot of factors that, got to go your way when you're Division I football.
Yeah.
To stay there for longer.
Especially if you're not one of the big guys, like when you're battling in the MAC and those those are good football conferences, and those are the conferences that get picked over by the big Midwestern schools, and you're literally scratching and clawing for everything you get, and they're in a good conference with Miami of Ohio and Ohio and all they're in a good football conference. So I look forward to maybe following them a little bit closer going forward. I know they're not an Ohio team, Jordan, but Jordan, we've got over 100 live viewers. Thank you to everybody who tuned in with us tonight. If you want to rewatch the show, check out our YouTube channel, Ohio Sports Talk on YouTube. You can rewatch the show there. We talked about the Bengals, we talked about the Browns, we talked about Ohio State, we talked about the Reds, we talked about college football around the great state of Ohio. Great show tonight, Jordan. We got a loaded show coming up on Thursday. We got Bengals breakdown against Kansas City. We got the Browns versus the Jaguars. We've got Reds recap. We've got college football in the state. We're going to talk Cincinnati and Miami a little bit. We're going to talk about FC Cincinnati versus the Columbus Crew in a massive game for the MLS. So we got a loaded show for Thursday, dude.
No, I'm going to dive into a little bit of the Guardians too, because they are in a battle for the the AL playoffs. So.
Yes,
I'm definitely gonna touch on them going into their hunt for October.
Yep. So we're gonna have a loaded show, 9:00 live on Thursday. We are gonna be covering a bunch of topics. I am your host, Doug. That's the coach. You can't ruin my intro.
Hold on. No. Usually give me a little platform before I leave.
I just did, and you just ruined it. I'm just kidding.
No. Just a little bit of news. I've been busy today fighting a little bit of an illness, but rest in peace, James Earl Jones. That news came across my desk right before we hit the air. So big part. Especially sports movies. You think stuff like The Sandlot, Field of Dreams. So it was kind of weighing on me. I wanted to fit it in there before we left the air today. Voice of Darth Vader and so much more. If you were a kid in the 90s, he was on your television screen one way or the other. So,
sure.
But now, I'll let you hype it back up. Take it away. I apologize.
No, James Earl Jones, like you said, rest in peace. The voice, and he helped bring to life the most iconic villain in cinema history and Darth Vader. So an incredible career, incredible voice. His work in The Lion King, bringing Mufasa to life. Just incredible work throughout his career. Awesome. I remember the first time I saw Darth Vader and hearing that voice. You don't forget things like that. So James Earl Jones, an absolute icon of the movie industry. You will be missed, but your work will never be forgotten. I am your host, Doug. That's my co-host, Jordan Maxon. We will be back live Thursday night, 9 o'clock, loaded show. We will see you then.